takes to finish out our quest. Redneck Archaeology.
What?
Y'all gonna dig?
Are we going to dig?
Mm-hmm.
Did we bring a shovel?
Yeah, no.
We got them out in the truck, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a small shovel in the truck, but
Why don't you go get the shovel?
All right, let me go get it. It's too heavy.
too heavy. It's a little bitty thing.
It's heavy.
It's heavy. What?
It's heavy.
Good help's hard to find nowadays.
Yeah, good help. Hard.
I hear the train a-coming. It's a-rolling around the bend. It's coming across the old Harrisburg Railroad train trestle bridge. Hi, I'm Jackson Burns. I'm the Redneck Archaeologist. Today, we're looking for the Twin Sisters cannons that were used at the Battle of San Jacinto for Texas independence. We're at Brays Bayou, Mason Park. In 1865, supposedly Dr. Henry Graves and 6 soldiers, Confederate soldiers, ex-Confederate soldiers that were coming out of the Civil War from Galveston had seen the Twin Sister cannons at the local railroad depot, which is where this train is headed to right now, to the old location. And they stole them away from the Yankees after they were confiscated at the end of the war and brought them to this location that we're on right now and buried them. They've been missing since 1865, August of 1865. And here we are at the Redneck Archaeologist, and we're going to find those suckers. We walked out 100 yards from the Valentine houses, which was what were told to us by some documents, and we walked 400 yards from the old Harrisburg train center or train depot where they were taken from. The Twin Sister cannons were taken, and that was triangulated to 400 from the depot, 400 yards from the depot, 100 yards from the Valentine house, puts us directly in line with this tree right here and the railroad track. So we are narrowing the search for the Twin Sisters cannons.
Can't wait.
We're on them. Behind me is exactly 65 paces, 65 yards, or 195 feet. And this would be the outside point, according to the inscriptions that we found on the tree, that if the 6'5" were yardage to walk off, other than being the year, which they sometimes did, use both to kind of, you know, hide it or disinformation or even information to exactly know where things are, that would be probably a message that you would walk off 65 yards or 65 paces from that tree and you would find that the spot that the Twin Sisters were buried on. That would be this exact spot right here, if that is true. Now if it is, it could be that the bark has grown through it, that it could be a 5'5" or a 6'5". We can't really tell for sure. And so what we've done is we've marked it 55 feet, 65 feet, 55 yards, and 65 yards, and that would be our search areas to locate the Twin Sisters. We don't believe that it would be too far away from the tree itself, for the main reason that you wouldn't be able to see one another in the middle of the night in darkness to line us up and to actually pinpoint where it might be at. Okay, what we found out is after exhaustive searches and lots of information that came in to us from different sources, as well as having a person from the Houston Arbor Society come out and do a scientific check on that tree with the heart carved into it, we have found that that tree is probably no longer than 80 years old. And we also have, I mean, exhausted from all the way back from 1944. Big tree with the markings on it is not there. It's not here, and it's not here. But it is later on here, and here, and here. And at the beginning there is no big tree, but then as it goes on, probably like in the third or fourth photo around 1940, the 40s, the late 40s or 50s, that tree is seen in these photos, and then all the way up to present day. So that tree with the heart on it evidently is not one of our places to look. Dagnabbit. This is the old depot. Now they could have taken it down the tracks, back down the Galveston tracks, up the Harrisburg tracks to the what is the barge depot right in there, and they could have dumped them here. And the one story was that they were put on a barge, and then the other stories, several stories, are that they pushed them from here. And they could have went south, they could have went north. This is where we were. However, we have a problem with our tree there, that those trees were not there, so our marked tree was actually not there at that time. So that's kind of verboten, unless, I mean, it could have been something added later, but it's kind of doubtful now. But here's the Brays Bayou, Buffalo Bayou, and then down here is Sims Bayou. And what's weird is, if you look at these, they all kind of, Sims, Brays, and Buffalo Bayou all kind of copy one another in their shape. We don't have it on this one, but they almost mirror one another. So it could be, I could see why in 1865 on a rainy night that Dr. Graves would be mistaken when he comes back into Harrisburg of where it could be. So it could be in any direction still yet. I mean, we all have these bends, and that's probably what he came off of, is a bend, like in the center of this bend right here, or center of this bend right here, and measured so far. Now, Henry Graves, Ira Pruitt, Solo Thomas, and John Burnett are the guys who stole the cannons, along with the servant, or I guess he had been a slave or whatever before, Dan, of Dr. Graves. Dr. Graves was only 19 years old at that time, so he was a kid, and that's why he lived the longest, and basically probably remembered the less because he was too busy, you know, seeing other things. And let's face it, when you're a kid or 19 years old and young, everything looks a lot bigger and different than later. Now, the interesting thing is that the Sims Bayou is south of the depot, but it's quite a bit further. But one of the things that Dr. Graves said, and he said it to two people, Mitchell and another fellow, he actually said that they buried the cannons down to the bayou. Now, this is a direct quote. So they pulled the gun down the bayou 1.5 miles from the depot. Well, this changes everything. Originally it was 400 yards, which is half a mile, thereabouts. So they threw the metal fittings into the stream and buried the barrels 3 feet deep on a ridge under some pine trees. Now, originally we found John Burnett, I believe, said later that they buried them in the Cena trees, and that's where we found the Cena trees, was back over there close to the Glendale Cemetery.